We are streaming to Facebook. Mr. O'Brien, the meeting is yours.
All right, we will call this special meeting of the Board of Finance to order, 4:05 p.m. I apologize for the delay. I was having some technical issues on my end. What I will do is do a roll call of Board of Finance members to make sure everyone is in attendance. Myself, Tim O'Brien, is here. Glenn Frischman.
Here.
Mike Fauerbach.
Has joined the meeting.
Lynn Young.
I'm here.
Bob Stachin.
Here.
Deb Norman.
Here.
And Dave Motherway.
Here.
Additionally, Jim Sullivan, you're online.
I'm here.
And Jill Senior.
Present.
And is there anyone else I need to identify who's online at this time? Okay. We will start off initially with comments from the public. Are there any public who wish to offer comments, or if so, please identify yourself.
Has left the meeting.
Hearing none, we'll go to the previous meeting minutes. There were quite a few that were included in your packet. They are March 4th, 2020, March 10th, 2020, March 18th, 2020, March 19th, 2020, April 1st, 2020, and May 6th, 2020. No, that's today. Sorry. So we ended at April 1st, 2020. Can I get a motion, or if people want, can I get a motion to approve all of those minutes, and then we'll review them one by one for addenda or corrections?
So moved.
Glenn made the motion. Do I have a second?
It's Mike. I'll second.
Mike, second. Thank you. Now, discussion. We'll take these one at a time, and I remind everyone, especially myself, to please identify yourself if you make comments or commentary so that the minutes can be properly reflected. So we'll start with the March 4th, 2020 minutes. Are there any addenda or corrections to those minutes?
It's Mike Fauerbach. Tim, just two, actually more comments than amendments. In the solid waste section, I know John was very transparent with us regarding some contract negotiations that had happened or were happening with SCARA, Crandall, et cetera. Can we just double check with John that there's nothing there in print that should be removed for confidentiality purposes?
I think that's a very good comment.
This is Jill Senior. I can check with John Pettyplace on that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Why don't we table those minutes for now, then?
Okay.
Until we have that review.
Does
that make sense? Or are there other corrections to those minutes that we want to make, or do we want to just, once we get them back, then deal with them then?
I don't have any other corrections. I do have one other comment, though. It's just on page 4, one of the things that was noted in the WPCA section is that we were going to ask Doug to come to a future Board of Finance meeting to delve into the bonding proposal and to learn some more specifics from him. I know it's an agenda topic later, but just wanted to note that we've given Doug that action. So. Again, I assume we'll discuss it further later.
Sounds good. I think, Glenn, you probably are going to have to amend your motion, if I'm correct, and we will table this set of minutes.
I will so do, Glenn Frischman.
I can second it.
Mike will second that. Okay, great. So let's move to the, procedurally, do we need a motion and a second then to table the the March 4th minutes?
Motion to table. Glenn Frischman. Motion
Second,
to
Flynn.
table March 4th minutes.
Second, Flynn.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If anyone is opposed, please identify yourself. Okay, so unanimously we tabled the minutes from March 4th. So now we will continue with Glenn's motion that Mike seconded for the March 10th through the April 1st one. So looking at March 10th, 2020, does anyone have any comments, corrections, or changes needed to be made to those?
I would ask, in referring to page 3, the discussion and the questions that were asked. I'm just curious, as a new member, sort of explaining. I know this is not a verbatim transcript, but there's no reference to questions I asked. I believe I've asked some questions as well, and I'm sort of kind of getting a feel for because this is an important part as far as the question and answer with the Board of Education being at such a large amount of our budget. Again, I'm not looking for verbatim, but it seems like this was fairly edited. I had a somewhat of a significant back and forth with the superintendent to the point of drawing the ire of our chairman. And there isn't reference to that. And maybe just explain a little bit as far as that editing process.
This is Jill Senior. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Jill.
Lots of times when there's it's true, it's not verbatim. It is quite detailed. I try to make it as detailed as possible, but it is not verbatim. And lots of times when there is a constant conversation of back and forth, sometimes if it goes with a lot of other things, I don't put it in. But we can also table these. I can go back to the recording and I can re-listen to your conversation and add some of that if you would like.
And Jill, and I appreciate it. And again, the last thing I want to do is create big, long documents. But I think the discussion, something that I felt was, asking about sort of what are the innovative programs that are being offered, I think is a starting point for a discussion that I would like to see continued. So I did think that was something and the responses to it. And I think that's something that can be relevant to sort of looking into the future as far as what they're doing. So that was my thought there. And I don't know if any other members felt that they had questions as well, but that was my thought on that section.
Okay, and as I said, I can go back to those minutes and I can add that in if you'd like.
Let's go ahead and table these. And Bob, why don't you put together some of the discussion points that you'd like to see highlighted in the minutes, and then Jill can focus on that and not go through the whole meeting on that one. So that'd be easy for her then to pull that part of it out, I think. Does that work?
It was a long time ago. I was hoping to be able to review minutes rather than write them. I really, I don't know if my notes support that, but that's.
Tim, it would be no problem. Tim, it would be no problem for me to go back to the minutes. I wrote down the couple of statements that Bob just made about, the innovative programs that he had the discussion with, and I can do that. I can go back in and find that.
Okay. Thanks, Jill.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, so we're going to table March 10th minutes. Do we want to look at the 18th, and then we'll amend everything at one time?
Glenn Frischman, Mr. Chairman, that would make sense.
Let's look at March 18th. Do people have changes, modifications, or questions on those minutes? No. So those look like those are okay. How about the 19th draft minutes? Are there any changes, corrections, modifications? Everyone all good with those?
All good, yep.
This is Lynn.
Yeah,
On, where is it? On page 3, on the second paragraph, I was asking Dr. Riley about savings and whatnot, and talking about the 2021 budget, which I said was lean. I wasn't really suggesting that the school budget was lean. I was suggesting that the entire budget, particularly the municipal side, was very lean, and the whole thing had to be lean. So I mean, it doesn't really matter because this was all recorded, but I just want to be clear that I, was saying that.
Do you want me to write that the whole, that you noted the whole budget to be lean? Would that just be better?
That more that it had to be lean, because I either said it had to be lean or I said the municipal budget was lean.
Okay.
So just the whole thing had to be lean.
Yeah, I probably just missed the word had to be lean.
That's okay.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks.
any other comments on the March 19th? Okay. How about April 1st? Any comments or corrections? I didn't see any there. All right. Then we have the minutes of March 18th, March 19th, and April 1st to approve, with March 19th having an addenda to it. Can I get a motion for those?
Move to approve. It's Lynn.
Second.
Second the motion, Glenn.
Okay. Any further discussion on those three sets of minutes, the March 18th, March 19th, or April 1st minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving those with the March 19th being as amended, say aye.
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 Anyone who is opposed, please identify yourself. So those minutes are unanimously approved with the one addenda there. And then we're tabling the March 4th and March 10th minutes. All good, everyone?
All good.
Okay. We'll move on to new business. Appointment of auditor for the 2019-2020 fiscal year end and the engagement letter. Jim, do you want to take the lead on this one?
Sure. You should all have in your packets a proposed engagement letter from PKF O'Connor Davies. They're our current auditors. This is their fourth year of a minimum 4-year contract with them. You see if you go to page, they numbered, well, the fee they're proposing for this year is a fee of $69,500. That's a 1.75 increase over prior year fee of $68,300. I think they took into account the situation because in our original contract with them 4 years ago, we did agree to 2.5 annual increases. So I think they made a gesture there by knocking it down $500 over what we had initially agreed to. And then as far as the appointment of auditor, that's for the purposes of notifying the Office of Policy and Management. We have to notify them 30 days before the end of our fiscal year who our auditor is. So upon your approval of this, I will be sending off a letter to OPM notifying them that O'Connor Davies has been reappointed for our 1920 fiscal audit. Any questions?
You've been happy with them, right, Jim? It's Lynn.
I think they've done a great job. Very easy to work with. They got the same crew out here every year, knowledgeable folks who understand the town, and it's been a pretty straightforward process for the last 3 years.
Jim, it's Mike. I'm just curious, what are the rules on how often, can you remind me how often we need to rotate? How many years can we go?
You can go as long as you want. When I was an
All right,
auditor, we've had clients for 25 years, but I think it's the Board of Finance's unwritten policy, if you will, that every 5 years at least look at it, considering going out to bid or rotating auditors. So we probably do this time earlier, maybe a few months earlier than where we are now. I'll be probably discussing with you if you want to go 5 years with this firm, or you want us to put it out to the market and see if we get any other interested parties and assess that at that point.
So it's only, I guess, following up on Mike's question, it's only public companies that are subject to those limitations.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Jim, do we need a formal motion to appoint the audit? We probably do.
Yes, please.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the appointment of PFK O'Connor Davies as the auditor for the 2019-2020 fiscal year?
So moved.
Second.
So Bob made the motion, Deb Norman with the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed, please identify yourself. Hearing none, that unanimously carries.
Okay, Tim, so I'll just ask if you can, on page 9 is where you need to sign. If you could sign that and send it to me, and I'll get it out to our auditors.
Okay. Do you need me to sign? Do you need an original, or do you want it scanned?
Nope, you can just sign it and scan it. Just
Okay.
page 9. You don't need to do the whole thing.
Yep, I'll just do the page 9.
Signature page.
Yep. Okay, I'll do that after the meeting and get it out to you, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Next item of business is the line item transfer request from administrative services to cover the account with the deficit.
Okay, that's just a one line item transfer. Their miscellaneous account went over. Well, we'll go over by about $550. Probably this time next week. So we're trying to get ahead of it, so the department can keep track of any accounts that are running a deficit. So this would be a internal departmental transfer from one line to the other. Any questions?
Can I get a motion then to approve the line item transfer of $550 as presented by Director Sullivan?
So moved. It's Lynn.
Glenn, second.
Glenn seconded. Lynn made the motion. Any further discussion on this line item transfer? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Anyone who is opposed, please identify yourself. Hearing none, that unanimously passed. Next item of business is additional appropriations.
No change since the last ones you approved back on January 8th. And just in case anybody's keeping track themselves, what I'm not including in here is in April we did a $5,000 additional appropriation. I'm not counting that in this calculation because that was not coming out of fund balance. It was funded from another source, a contribution, a donation. So that $5,000 additional appropriation from last month, you won't see in the threshold calculation.
Jim, can you review with us where we are on the threshold calculation?
Yep, to date, year to date, we've had additional appropriations of $77,592. That leaves an remaining amount of $290,652 that the Board of Finance would be able to appropriate without going to town meeting. The annual limit is $368,244, which is 0.5% of the annual budget.
Perfect. And we don't see anything coming down right now.
No, I expect I expect a lot of transfers probably come to the June meeting or the July for the 1920 fiscal year, but no needs for additional funding at this point, I don't believe.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I might ask Director Sullivan a question, Glenn Frischman. The town dock, how is that proceeding? Are they on budget?
The tank, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from them. I don't know what's going on with them.
Okay.
I'll have to check with Director McCrell, see where they are.
That would be a good thing. Thank you.
Good question. All right. So we reviewed the appropriations. Next item on the agenda is discussion of possible bonding for WPCA projects. Jim, do you want to, I don't know, between Jim and Lynn, who wants to take the first stab at this one?
I left that on there just because, in case you guys want to kick around, I don't have any specific information to discuss. I thought that would be a Doug issue, but I know I left it on there for any general remarks anybody wanted to make about it.
Okay.
Well, it's not like we don't need it. We still need it. But the question more is timing. And in my opinion, it should get started sooner than later. Not just for the WPCA, but, from a macroeconomic perspective, the muni bonds have the muni markets have stabilized. We shouldn't have any issue. But that might not be true 2-3 months from now. Or longer.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I mean, I'll reiterate what Lynn said. Yeah, I do think we want to move on it. But again, I'll just to the point I made earlier. I think it really would be good to have some formal time scheduled with Doug to really have them present to us what they believe the true need is. I know we've been talking some very very round numbers in millions of dollars, and I know it is. I can also appreciate it's virtually impossible to predict until you really get into it. But I would appreciate just a better understanding than I have at the moment in terms of what the potential need is there.
This is Jim Sullivan again. I would just make the comment that, I think we just wanted to hold off until the budget was done so everybody can focus on we would know what we had to deal with as far as the budget, and then we'd better understand the load of an additional bond. And also something to consider is if we do a bond in the next month or two, that's, normally that goes to town meeting. We'd have to figure out how that would work. If you can't have a town meeting, if it would be something similar to passing the bond, to find out what the state's going to allow us to do.
Similar to passing the budget.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Len.
They've not commented or issued any diktats about that yet?
I haven't heard anything, no.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through in my head the updates I've gotten, and I haven't seen anything that's come through about bonding procedures or townwide meetings.
Probably because everyone's in such a state of shock they haven't tried to bond anything yet.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. But I agree with Lynn and Mike. I'd like to get this really kicked off sooner, not later, because we know there's a desperate need. Lynn, do you want to talk with Doug and see what makes sense? I'd probably like to call probably a virtual special meeting sometime between now and the June meeting, so that we could get, with this just being the only topic of conversation, if that makes sense. But if he needs some more time to get it ready, we'll put it on for June. But I'd kind of like to do it sooner.
Yeah, so you're talking about a joint meeting between the two boards?
It could either be with the WPCA or just with Doug presenting what he gave us that document, what was that, last year, I guess, that had the idea of what was going to be bonded or what needed to be replaced. And so I think just reviewing that so that we know what really the numbers are would be good.
Yeah, well, a couple things have happened that we've had to add to that considerably too. I would actually, yeah, that's the only direction it goes, is from bad to worse.
Yeah.
I'd actually like it to be a joint meeting if it can be arranged, because it's not just my voice that matters; it's the other 4 people on that board, and and I'm sure he would appreciate the support as well. So I will talk to him and see what we can do. But I don't know why we couldn't do it by June.
Okay, yeah, at least so we can get our arms around it, get the bonding resolution drafted. And while we were talking about this, I did get a message from the first selectwoman that we have to wait for a town meeting at this point. They've asked about it, and the town got advice that it has to go to a town meeting, so it's going to have to be pushed back until we can allow town meetings to happen. But I think getting it started would be better. And then, this is evolving pretty quickly in the state, so they may issue some other guidance on that as we go in the next couple of weeks here. So, but getting our ducks in a row sooner, not later, would be better.
Can I just ask, as we go through this process, and I know you got that email, I guess, quick, but Executive Order number 7S, paragraph 7 specifically does reference may authorize anticipation notes, municipal general obligation bonds. And again, I haven't read it deeply, but I just kind of pulled it up as we were having this discussion here. So it is referenced there. It does seem to provide some authorization, but that would be the executive order and the paragraph that would or would not pull the authority. So if as we move forward, we might want to look at that a bit closer.
Yeah, and
if there's any way not to usurp the public's input on this, I really would like to not do that, because it's a big bond, and But on the other hand, if it means that you can't do it for a year, that's not going to fly either. So
I agree, and at least we should really get a solid understanding of the. I'm kind of surprised by the openness of the language in there. Again, I'm looking at it, just quickly pulling it up, but I agree. We should at least know whether we can take advantage of a market or not, whether it's even possible.
Exactly.
All right, so we'll start reviewing, and we can set up at a minimum a joint meeting of the Board of Finance and the WPCA to get all that input and dialogue starting to happen. Sooner, not later, would be a good idea. And I'll work with everyone to try and start looking at dates for that and push info out to the members to try and figure out what's going to work. I just realized there's Memorial Day. Yeah, so we'll take a look at it. It might be the last week in May, but maybe we can do it the week beforehand, towards the latter part of that week. I gotta look at some of the other town meetings and that, and we'll get something out to everybody pretty soon here for a joint meeting.
Yeah, and I'll talk to Doug tomorrow. So we'll see how fast he can, put something fairly formal together.
Yeah, that's
a lot going on right now, because we have a major broken piece of equipment that he's running around trying to contend with. But I'll talk to him.
I want to be sympathetic to those constraints as well. So let's make sure we get it done right at the right timing for him as well. So once Lynn, we can work together to try and figure out what works timing for both boards.
Okay.
Any other discussion on possible bonding for the WPCA? None. We'll go to correspondence.
Tim, sorry.
Yep.
This is David.
Go ahead.
There were several things, and I'm going to be challenged to remember them all, but the most recent one I recall was the mention of the tennis courts, but there were several other items throughout the process that were mentioned they would likely be added in a bond. Is that something where we're going to look at the WPCA first and then go back and look at those other items? Just trying to understand procedurally how we do this.
Yes, exactly. So there were a bunch of other items. A lot of them were school upgrades and that. And what the intent was to separate the bonds out because the bond language is fairly specific to the what it's being used for, and the WPCA kind of needs to stand on its own, as has been done in the past, so that we can get the resolutions written around that. And then subsequently, we would be looking at the rest of the items that were lumped more as rooftop units for the high school, that kind of a thing. Lump those all together because those were more maintenance type items that we could bundle as that package as well.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or comments about that? Okay, we'll move on to correspondence, and I have not received anything. I don't know, Jim or Jill, if you've seen anything come in.
I have not.
Nothing here from me.
Okay. No correspondence. I did get a couple of emails that came through town hall that I got forwarded from Stacy that were in support of the budget and the budget that came out, but that's the only correspondence that I have seen.
Yeah, Tim, David again, sorry. Just from a procedural standpoint, as far as correspondence is concerned, are we supposed to share if we've gotten emails from members of the town and that sort of thing as a board member? I'm trying to understand what my
generally speaking, correspondence would be addressed to the Board of Finance directly, not to you as an individual. You as an individual can get personal conversation that is not covered by correspondence unless someone asks you, which I've done in the past to other boards and commissions when I was not on the Board of Finance. I've written a letter to that board or commission asking that they review XYZ policy or review how something is being done, and it's a request from a taxpayer to either review or modify a policy or a procedure that you do. General correspondence like, hey, I heard you, talking with the first select woman about the sewer bond, and hey, you're doing a great job. That's not correspondence per se. I don't know if that helps
Thank you.
Frame it a little bit.
It does. It just trying to make sure what I needed to share or not share. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's generally the correspondence you'll know is fairly directed. We'd like you to pass some bonding, but they want it on the record that they have requested that you do something for the town or for individuals. So, yeah, hope that helps.
Tim, if we are approached, it's Deb, sorry. If we are approached, should it be directed towards you?
Yeah, formal correspondence can come through town hall and go to me directly or through the town hall offices. A lot of it comes through the first selectman's office, and then they pass it on because some of the people on one of the other boards that I'm on, the people put it through first selectman's office because that way there's a stamp that shows that it was received, so they have a proof that it went in. So there's a couple different mechanisms people can use to do that, and then it gets forwarded on to me.
Thanks.
And it either goes to me or to Jim or Jill or someone like that. So yeah, there's a couple different ways they can do it, but it usually you can tell what is a formal correspondence. Okay, liaison reports. Library subcommittee report has not met since in a while, so I don't think there's anything there. Does anyone have a liaison report they would like to give? Let me
Hang on
just
for a
ask it
second.
that way.
It's Lynn. Can we go back to that library thing? That subcommittee was
Yep.
convened for a specific purpose, which was to look at, a funding ratio for the 3 libraries and, just kind of do a deep dive into their operations and their needs and all that kind of stuff. We've concluded that. Do we need to should we disband that subcommittee? It's not really doing anything anymore.
Personally, I have no opposition to disbanding it and letting the libraries know that we have disbanded it, but should the need arise, we would immediately reconstitute it.
Yeah.
I don't
Because the whole
have a
point
problem with that.
Yeah, the whole point of it was to kind of codify a system by which we fund them, and we did that.
Yeah.
Makes sense, Mr. Chairman. Glenn Frischman.
So I don't know, do we procedurally need do we need to make a motion to disband it?
It was appointed by the chairman. So
Yeah, so I think I
was,
can just unappoint
you
it.
could just unappoint it.
We can just disband it at this point. Okay.
It is
So let's
inactive.
consider the library subcommittee disbanded at this point, and I don't know, Lynn or I will send an email to the libraries just indicating that. I think that they feel it's disbanded as well too.
And Tim, if you are going to do that, let them know that I'm the liaison, just in case they need
Okay.
something.
You know what? How about we do this, Deb, offline? I'll talk with you. We'll put together an email or something that you can deliver to the libraries, and then encourage that they keep talking to you as a liaison. That's a very good idea.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Deb. Are there any other liaison reports that anyone would like to give? I think we've covered everything else there. Hearing nothing, and we'd have to follow the agenda because it is a special meeting. We can't add anything. The last item is adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, Glenn Frischman, so moved.
I'll second it, Mike.
Okay, motion by Glenn, second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
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 Bye.
And if you're opposed, you're outvoted. So we're moving on and adjourn. Thank you all for your help today, and stay safe.
Take
Have a
care.
great
Meeting
afternoon,
adjourned.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.